I got tagged in some Yu-Gi-Oh thing, but I haven't touched Yu-Gi-Oh in years, and the last thing I've done with it was try out Duel Links. Time to make a Yu-Gi-Oh channel. I'm off Konami's wild power creep ride.
Or am I? The early 2000s was a wonderful time. And by that I mean I was a kid with zero responsibilities, and my only worries were about how I was going to get the most powerful Charizard card from my friend. During this time was also when I would wake up every Saturday morning to watch the newest Pokemon episode, but before Pokemon even played, there was this new show called Yu-Gi-Oh! Being the easily influenced kid that I was, I naturally gravitated toward Yugi and his triumphs over Seto Kaiba with the infamous Exodia, Obliterate, as Kaiba would now go on a conquest for the salty runback for the rest of his life. Spoiler alert, he may be a first-rate duelist with a first-rate deck, but he sure as hell can never beat Yugi. Shame, since he was the coolest character in the series anyways. So naturally, I gravitated towards playing the game, and the first ever structure deck that my parents bought me was Seto Kaiba's starter deck, featuring his ace monster, Blue Eyes White Dragon. But here was the problem that we kids faced. None of us actually knew how to play the card game. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime didn't exactly teach us how to play the game, so we honestly made up our own rules. For instance, my childhood friend Glenn would say Mystic Clown gains 1000 attack points from each one of his eyes. And it was honestly believable because the anime had dumb rules like that. But if I hit him with, but if I make him close his eyes with swords revealing light, then his attack points revert back. Because shoot, have you tried to stare at a blinding light source? But in a weird way, these answers that we came up with as kids was believable because the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime did such an awful job at teaching us how to play the game. Up until Battle City, where the rules became a little bit more clear, but even then, my ability to play the game was so abysmal that it didn't really matter. I just threw in the strongest 4-star monsters and even stronger 6-star and 8-star monsters, and sometimes it worked. Now fast forward to around 2012, after a b-boy session with a bunch of my friends. Until one of the older kids, Sui, his real name Josh, but we never called him that cause it's weird, comes up to me and asks if I had Yu-Gi-Oh cards. He would tell me the other b-boys at different schools were playing and he wants to get good enough to beat them. He said he would duel me for my cards, and I said, you know, why the hell not? I got my ass pounded with my outdated cards from 2002, but it did confirm for me that the game was low-key kind of fun. And I told Sui that I won't lose to him again. Did I lose? I will neither confirm nor deny that statement. I will, however, confirm the fact that my Dark Magician deck was kinda sick. That was my first ever quote competitive deck that I built, and I couldn't have had any more fun. And so my Yu-Gi-Oh career started to take off. I would study the meta really hard and play the game almost every day between the b-boys at my school and the other Asian nerds that attended the Yu-Gi-Oh sessions. I would jump from Dark Magicians, Grave Keepers, Light Sworns, Disaster Dragons to finally settling on the Hero archetype, which is still one of my favorite archetypes to this day. I was really getting into the game and it showed. It also helped tremendously that I had friends who were really into the game just like myself, and I think it's the reason why we all love to hate Six Samurais, the best deck at the time. But even past the Six Samurais, there were things in later versions of the game like Insectors, which my buddy Kevin Tran played. Piece of shit. He would jump from Six Samurais to Insectors, basically playing all the top tier decks if he could afford to. Sometimes even combining old tier ones with new tier ones, creating this weird but effective hybrid between insects and samurais. Don't ask, I'm as lost as you are, but we had fun. And I think it helped that all of us had this untouchable player playing the best decks, and we all somehow had to get on his level in order to beat him. I think it also helped that our network of friends was between a lot of the different schools, since we would all dance together and practice together. So whatever meta we had at my high school was vastly different at a different school. But there's this saying that all good things must come to an end, and so did the Yu-Gi-Oh phase that we all went through my sophomore and junior year of high school. You see, the game became too hard to keep up with as we entered our senior year of high school, as we valued our time as dancers over the card game. And with all the older kids leaving to go on to college, the group of players became smaller and smaller. On top of that, the meta was becoming way too fast to keep up with as people who like to be competitive, so we all just eventually stopped. The sad truth is, I got off Konami's wild ride when I found out that I didn't have a community to really play with anymore. But it's undeniable that when I look back at the time that I had played Yu-Gi-Oh!, I can confirm the fact that it was a lot of fun. I've always been a competitive person, but sports were never my thing, so this was just one of my many outlets that I had to express how competitive I could get. I still have all my cards to this day within arm's reach, and I look back at those times that we shared together relatively fondly. What the? Are you okay? You've been yelling something for the last 20 minutes. Honestly, bro, he thinks he's in some YouTube video, so I just wouldn't even worry about it. He'll snap out of it in like 5 minutes.